Hello, welcome to Stories About Speaking. My name's Joanne. Today I have a happy story. I've been thinking about it all night and all morning. And it was about the doors that open when you start learning a little bit more about speaking and your confidence grows. So you start doing more things that you never thought that you would. And here we go. Anyway, lovely that you tuned in again. Hi. I was living in Madrid and I'd been learning a little bit about speaking and accidentally building confidence. I really hadn't thought much about how this all works. Um, I was super early in my learning process and I lost my job. And suddenly I had to think about whether I would look for another job or whether I would do more teaching and push myself in that direction. And I was pretty excited to never work for somebody ever again, because that hadn't been a positive experience for me. So I was looking at opportunities of where can I speak and where can I teach and what can I do. And somebody approached me about a holiday that they were organising where the people who had English as a first language went free on this holiday. And the people who had English as a second language paid for the holiday. Now, normally it would be their company that paid for the holiday. So I was living in Madrid, and what they would do is we had to get ourselves to Madrid, and there would be a coach to a city or town just outside of Madrid. My hotel was paid for, all my food was paid for, but I wasn't paid a salary. So, hotel was paid for, food was paid for, drinks generally. I'm guessing there would have been a limit on drinks, but I don't drink. So, anyway, all the drinks were included. And I thought, this has to be a scam. This sounds pretty off to be just because I have English as a first language. And I knew I wasn't being expected to teach. I didn't need qualifications to do this. But anyway, I found out more, and clearly what they're trying to do is pay for a native speaker to speak English with people who have English as a second language. But instead of actually giving them a salary, they give them a holiday. And so I knew that I had time, I could give a week up to do this thing. So I got on the coach and I went to, I've got a feeling it was Avila. I think it was a place called Avila just outside of Madrid. So it's a historic place and you go to this hotel and it's nice and you can walk into town and do different things. But the way they organized the holiday was that you had all your meals together. So I think there was about 12 to 20 native speakers and then the same uh, in this case it was Spanish speakers, people who have English as a second language. And we weren't there to teach English, we were there to speak. And I think that's a really big difference. So these people already had been studying English for a long time and some of them had degrees in English, but they were all young professionals who needed to get a lot more confidence with speaking English. So we would all have our meals together. Then the organisers would pair us off and we would spend, and so each time of the day, so 9 o'clock you were an hour with this person, 10 o'clock an hour with this person, 11 o'clock, and they didn't need to give us coffee breaks because in your hour, if you wanted to walk into town and back, you could, or if you wanted to go outside, or if you wanted to have a coffee, that's what you would do in your hour. And then obviously, let's say lunchtime together. Sometimes in the afternoon or the evening, there'd be a group activity. I think that happened once or twice. But generally, you just had your 1 hour intense conversation, then the next person an hour. And by the end of it, you really got to know people, except for the other English speakers. I didn't really get to know those because I was never paired up. You met those more at the meal times and stuff. But It was a lot of fun, and it was something that would have been completely unimaginable to me as the person that I was before, to put myself forward into a situation where I was expected to speak to someone, because previously, as I say, it was unimaginable. It was the kind of difficult that meant I would never have put my name forward. I would never have done this. And yet I ended up having an amazing experience. And I thought it might be useful to say to you that some of the things that came up, it's actually it actually does feel like work when you're the native English speaker. Although you're thrilled to meet the people and you want to talk, it still feels like work. And everybody was going to bed late on the night, exhausted from all that mental concentration. And the fun fact was, pretty much every all the Spanish speakers by day 3, definitely day 4, were dreaming in English, and they all thought that that was really strange, and they were phoning their parents, for example, and accidentally speaking English to their parents. So it's amazing how intensive this is and the results that can come from this. Where was I? I digressed for a moment then. Yes. So about the doors opening. Oh, yeah, I said about the doors opening, and then I said about how tiring it was. We did have some guidelines about things to talk about, and that helped. And you would think as a native speaker, you just sit down with somebody and just speak. But obviously, this is a stranger, and you're trying to find ways to connect. And also, you're kind of looking for ways to entertain yourself, because you don't want to just say, the small talk of, "Hi, how are you? What do you do? It's nice weather, isn't it? Hotel's nice." Da 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 da. You really want to get into the meat of the conversation, and so you're looking for a shortcut as a way to do that. And quite a few people there, the native speakers, had photographs with them of their family. And I thought that was a super good idea, because then you would end up talking about your family tree, and you could talk about the past and history. And then there were other people who had maps, and some people, you could bring up photographs of the place that you lived, or you would start the conversation about interesting holidays. And very often it would become a conversation about the countries that you've visited, but not superficial. You knew that you had this hour together and you wanted to connect. So instead of just saying, "Oh, I went on holiday to Egypt," it's like, "What interests you about Egypt, and how did you get interested in that? And, tell me more about that." And just really loads and loads of detail. But for somebody like me who likes that kind of conversation, that was great. But there was techniques to get into it. Does that make sense? That it wasn't something that you just sit down and do. But obviously, by the end of it, as the native speaker, you're much more practiced, as in, "Oh, okay, this is how you jump in and dive into a conversation, and these are the kind of questions." And it's okay. Much later, when I was living in Kazakhstan, again, quick digression. When I was living in Kazakhstan, I was asking some of these questions, and somebody sort of rolled their eyes and said, because I was in a little group, and they rolled their eyes and went, "Oh, that's a Joanne question." And I was asking them about why they'd chosen to move and live abroad. And for me, that's the most interesting part. Rather than saying, "Oh, which country do you live and where did you live?" It's like, wow, what got you to leave your home and your family and everything's familiar to go overseas? Because excuse me, my experience is that that's not easy. That's You need some momentum for something like that. You need something building up. You need to be, either being pushed or being called towards something to make a decision like that, to make a big jump. So I thought it would be something that's exactly what I want to know when I'm speaking to somebody. Oh, every time I digress, I struggle to remember what I was talking about, but I just want to talk to you so much. Yes, so it's a skill that you learn. That's the basic part of it, is that to get into these deeper conversations, it's a skill that you learn. But also, what I wanted to say in the podcast is sometimes when I'm talking about speaking and saying about learning and getting better, I talk about the problems and the things that have gone wrong. But I really wanted today to be about, oh, and these are the doors that open. These are the opportunities that you have. These are the fun things that you'll say yes to, and you'll be nervous, but it won't feel impossible. And there's a huge difference between just finding something difficult and stretching you to actually saying to yourself, this is impossible and I can't do this. And I really wanted you to start to feel that, as in, you'll be amazed how little you need to learn before the things that feel impossible start to feel possible. And as I say, that just opens the door and can change your world. And I really wanted to share that. And I'm going to keep it short this week. But I want you to feel good. I want you to feel good about speaking and about showing up and meeting people. And even if they don't have the first language that you have, that you can dive in and learn more. So I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.